wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't even...
Hey y'all, how we doing? Welcome to episode 78 of the Fourth Down Forum podcast. Now, as y'all can tell by the setup, as y'all can tell by the t-shirt I'm wearing, the Raw is War t-shirt, which, let me point out, is inaccurate because Batista was Ruthless Aggression, not Attitude Era. But this is an officially licensed WWE shirt. Anyways, today on this episode, we're going to be covering Wrestlemania 42 predictions. So I got everything, on the laptop right here. I got the matchups, I got the rumored matchups, and I'm going to give you all my predictions, my thoughts, and what I think. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up on the agenda, mind you, this is not in order. I'm going to have to scroll back up real quick. I do apologize about that. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship or WWE Undisputed Championship. I have some thoughts on this because as we've seen on Friday Night SmackDown, Randy Orton's mystery caller was Pat McAfee. Now, I have no issue with Pat McAfee as a professional NFL player. With his experience in the WWE for the limited matches he has had, as a commentator, as the host of the Pat McAfee Show. It's actually one of my favorite podcasts that are out there. However, there are so many different routes that WWE could have went with this mystery caller line. Ric Flair, who Randy Orton was a member of Evolution with, would have worked. And before we get into that, let me say, I do not fault Pat McAfee for this. I fault TKO for this. Ted DiBiase Jr., who recently had all charges dropped and has been cleared, making a wrestling appearance. His father, Cowboy Bob Orton, would have been better. The actual voices from the song would have been better. Vince McMahon is a kind of a touchy subject. A lot of people thought that's who was going to, be on the phone. But, he has lawsuits and some other legal trouble. So, who do I have winning this match and why? Now, for the longest time, they keep building, you can't beat me, Cody. There's the story, 20-year student, teacher, yada, yada, yada. But the more they do that, the more I think Cody Rhodes is going to retain, because there's no way you have Cody lose the title at back-to-back Manias, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he lost to Cena last year at WrestleMania 41. Similar story playing out with WrestleMania 42. But I think they're going to have Cody overcome the odds and retain the title. So I have Cody Rhodes winning this match. Those are my reasons why. And I should specify, because I didn't say this earlier in the episode, Randy Orton turned heel, which means he is a bad guy. They did the contract signing for their Mania match. Cody hit him with the, oh, you're like a brother to me speech. Hell of a mentor, yada, yada, yada. And he kicked him in the balls. So, give me just a second. But I have Cody Rhodes winning and retaining the WWE Championship. Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's title. How did we get here and why? We got here because Rhea Ripley won the Women's Elimination Chamber, if I'm not mistaken. Jade Cargill has been the WWE Women's champion for a bit of time. This has been an underwhelming feud, to say the least. Neither of these women's fault, by the way. But Rhea and Jade had a thing on Twitter, right? I will always call it Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. It's just me. However, instead of going that direction, we went, oh, my muscles are bigger, and then Jade got a stable that is B-Fab and Michin. Maybe this is one of those situations where the build-up is ass and the match itself is going to be great. However, I have Rhea Ripley winning and becoming the new WWE Women's Champion. And I say that for reasons we'll get into later because, typically we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode, actually. The other women's title match, Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World title. How did we get here? I'm glad y'all asked. Liv Morgan, if I'm not mistaken, won the Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble this past year. She chose Stephanie Vaquer as her Mania opponent. Now this feud has been a lot better build up than the other women's feud. However, this one, I'm not going to overthink and be like, oh, it's going to be this, but it's really going to be this. I'm picking Stephanie Vaquer to retain her title. I don't think you're going to switch both women's champions, and I don't think you're going to switch both men's champion main titles either. One other women's title match that is on this card, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental title. This has been a feud that has been going on for a while. Because at one point, Maxine Dupree was the women's IC champ because AJ Lee had returned and caused a distraction, and Maxine Dupree won the title. Then Becky Lynch won the title back. Then AJ Lee won the title. And now here we are with this match. This could go either way. I'm picking AJ Lee to win, though, because neither woman necessarily needs the title. They're both already made wrestlers, Becky Lynch has been a multi-time women's champion. AJ Lee, when the Divas title was relevant back in the 2015 era, held that title and made it prestigious and what it was. Now, let's get into a matchup that doesn't quite sit right with me. Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn for the United States Championship. Now, how did this match come about? Sami Zayn, past couple weeks on SmackDown, has been pushing General Manager Nick Aldis to be on the Mania card. He was like, I got nothing for you. All the champions have to defend their titles. That logic's kind of flawed when you think we got a couple of matches that aren't championship matches, though, but that's WWE logic for you. So Sami Zayn answered Carmelo Hayes' open challenge. Had the match, Trick Williams came out, cost Carmelo Hayes, which there is a history there, because they used to be tag team partners down in NXT. But now Sami Zayn is the Men's United States Champion. He doesn't need the title. But if you want to do and go in the direction which I think they're going, I get why you put it on him. Because you don't want to take like the momentum that Carmelo Hayes has built up off of him. You don't want Trick Williams to lose. So one of two ways I see this matchup becoming. The Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams for the U.S. title, already official. Carmelo Hayes may insert himself into this matchup and make it a triple threat. Sami Zayn's going to be the one to eat the pin, however, and Trick Williams is going to become the new United States Men's Champion. Because I think the WWE brass is very high on Trick Williams the same way they are on Carmelo Hayes. Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu in an unsanctioned match. This matchup came about because Drew McIntyre at one point earlier in the year was the WWE champion. Cody Rhodes had a match with him. Jacob Fatu interfered in that. cost Drew McIntyre the title. And now they've been going back and forth and they've been beefing and they're like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I'm like, okay. This is going to be an underrated match, I feel like. I have the Samoan Werewolf Jacob Fatu winning this match, though. I think unsanctioned match, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the last unsanctioned match at Mania, why do I want to say, I remember Triple H and Brock Lesnar having an unsanctioned match. I know that one happened. I don't remember quite the last one. I want to say maybe Batista and Triple H at Mania 35 was one as well. But I feel like there's one I'm forgetting. So if y'all could help me out in the comments below, I'd appreciate it greatly. But I digress and we move on. Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar. Now this is an exciting matchup because this is two heavyweights. Big men, just balls to the wall going at it. But the thing about WWE is if you want to make new stars, we already know who Brock Lesnar is. He beat The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, which I will sit here and say, he should not have been the WWE wrestler to break his streak. Oh, D, who should have been the wrestler to break his streak? I'm glad you asked. CM Punk at WrestleMania 29, Bray Wyatt, aka Wyndham Rotunda, may he rest in peace, at WrestleMania 31, or WWE could have did something with Taker and Sting when they brought Sting in for, you know, those couple of years they had him, and Sting could have beat him. Those are my three options. But back to the point I was making. The WWE has a complaint of, oh, we don't know how to make new stars, we don't have enough new stars. You know how you make new stars? Have Oba Femi beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania in convincing fashion. Now, I get that Lesnar, there's a rumor circulating that Lesnar and Paul Heyman, who is his advocate, who is his manager, who has been with him since day one that he's been with WWE, don't want him to lose until SummerSlam in Minnesota, which I believe is where Lesnar is going to retire because that is his hometown. But have Oba Femi win, and that's who my pick is going to be. It is going to be Oba Femi. Now, another matchup that I'm excited for because I feel like this match has been building for way longer than we've been waiting for. Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor. Former Judgment Day stable members. Now, who should win this match, though? Dominic, who the past two Manias, I think, Mania 41, he won the IC title. He lost that title recently to Penta, which we'll get into that a bit later. Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, Raquel, all turned their backs on Finn Balor. Granted, Finn did Pele kick Dom in the head first, which was warranted, in my opinion. Now, I think Finn Balor should win this match. But I could see WWE going in the direction of putting Dominic Mysterio over to make him an even more hated heel. And it's like one of those heels that you love to hate and you can't look away from it. And it's like, damn, he's so good. But I despise this kid. Not in real life, but, you know, like his work is that great. Now, I will say this much too. Credit to Dominic Mysterio, because if they would have kept him as a pure babyface good guy with his, like, dad, who is one of the, if not the greatest luchador in history, he wouldn't be where he's at right now. I have Finn Balor winning this matchup, though. Now, we get into a very exciting matchup, which I'm going to say this. WWE, no, you did not have qualifying matchups for this ladder match, but I'll let it slide because we are getting Penta, the current men's Intercontinental Champion, versus Javion Evans, high flyer, vastly underrated. That's another guy you can make a star. versus Rusev versus Dragon Lee, who is another high flyer, versus JD McDonough. As of right now, they could add more participants to this matchup. We don't know yet. I'm just going off of what information we have right now. I believe at the time of this recording, we are maybe 3-4 weeks out from Mania 42. Now, who do I have winning this match and why? A lot of people are going to want me to say Penta, and I would be absolutely thrilled if Penta retains the title. However, you make new stars by elevating them, having them put on a strong showing, and the only other person in this matchup who is worthy and deserving of the Intercontinental title is Javion Evans. So that is my pick for the men's ladder match. Then we're getting Gunther versus Seth Rollins, which that's not the matchup we wanted. We wanted Seth Rollins, who is, he's great. That's all I got to say about Seth Rollins. Versus the career killer in Gunther, who I got to see live a couple of months back in December when SmackDown came to Austin. So that was really cool. Just a quick side note. But, we want this Vision feud to finish up. This is reminiscent of when WWE had Mania 32, the original layout and stuff. And it was phenomenal. I think it was going to be Cena versus somebody. Well, obviously versus somebody, but I forget who it was. I think Taker was supposed to originally wrestle Sting before he got injured. The Shield triple threat that happened at Battleground instead of Mania, which that was a Mania level matchup. But who do I have winning this match and why? You've had Gunther on an absolute tear lately. He retired AJ Styles. He retired Goldberg, I think. There's one other. Cena. He retired John Cena, who, I haven't mentioned this yet, is the official host of WrestleMania 42. And I'll get into my, I don't have a gripe with Cena. He's one of my all-time favorites. Watched him as a kid growing up. And I even watched, him into adulthood, so. Fun fact, though, he is one of my Twitter followers. So, it's like, Dereck, you talk about that all the time. It's a flex. I can, who wouldn't be like, oh, the potential GOAT of wrestling follows you? I think Gunther needs his momentum slowed a little bit. So, for that reason, I have Seth Rollins winning this matchup. Then we get into the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Title match with Lash Legend and Nia Jax, who are the current Women's Champion, versus Charlexa, the team of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, versus the Bella Twins, Nikki and Brie, who made their return to WWE not too long ago, versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Who should win this match and why? Make it right and have Bayley and Lyra win. But because of nostalgia and stuff, I could see them putting the titles on the Bella Twins. And I also think most people would expect Charlotte to turn on Alexa Bliss, right? I think it's going to be the other way around. Calling it. Bold prediction, Alexa Bliss is going to turn heel on Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 42. Then we got some rumored matchups that have not been made official yet. LA Knight and the Usos versus The Vision and IShowSpeed. Popular streamer. Has been featured on Monday Night Raw recently. Has some WWE appearances. Was in the Rumble. Did a spot at Mania before. He knows who Logan Paul is because of the, y'all get it. Y'all understand if y'all know who Logan Paul is. So the reason this matchup is potentially coming about is because, the Usos and LA Knight have been helping each other out, obviously. There was a tag team championship match on Monday Night Raw not too long ago. And Speed was cursed by Danhausen, who made his debut at Elimination Chamber. And accidentally hit LA Knight with brass knuckles and cost the Usos the WWE Tag titles. LA Knight showed up on Speed Stream, crashed his stream and everything, said, it is what it is, but I'm going to need a receipt for that, and threw him into his setup stream. So now Speed has a reason to get himself involved, even though he was saying he wasn't trying to get involved. That is the one celebrity or popular, streamer that I'm okay with being in the WWE realm. So, other rumored match. I've seen Io Sky versus Asuka, which would be another fantastic women's match on the card, because there is history there. Both women were a member of the stable Damage Control from 2022 to, I want to say, circa 2023, 24. And I think in that case scenario, you're going to get a very underrated match. You're going to get a great match. And I would have Io Sky win that match. The Vision and ISHO Speed should win the match over LA Knight and the Usos, just because you want to have the heels go over sometimes. I've also seen that potentially Jelly Roll might have a match on the card. I don't know if that's 100% true. I haven't seen anything of that nature. So I don't want to give TKO or WWE any ideas, but what are they going to give us? Pat McAfee versus Jelly Roll? I am so sorry, by the way, if that becomes an official match, because I kind of put that out into the universe. But that has been my WrestleMania 42 prediction. So now I can get into my gripe. TKO. The reason WrestleMania ticket sales have been low for this year is because y'all don't understand how wrestling fans work. It's fatigue. You don't go and host the same event back-to-back years in the same city. Look at the NFL draft. They switch it up every year. Yeah, sure, they'll take it back there eventually, but that's why that works. Look at all the other big sporting events. They move their premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever the hell you want to call them, and it works. The other reason y'all are not doing well when it comes to this is because y'all are trying to go celebrity heavy. Y'all made this mistake last year with Travis Scott and The Rock getting involved in the Cena and Cody feud, and that payoff went nowhere. Cena was a heel for 5 months and then reverted back to babyface good guy Cena. TKO, y'all need to do better. You're already ruined the UFC, and now you're starting to trend in the direction of ruining WWE. And I remember everybody was like, oh, it's great when, Triple H took over. I'm not going to be one of those guys who discredits Triple H, because when he was booking, was great. It's before TKO took over, though. And I'm not going to sit here and crap on the company anymore than I already have, because one of my bucket list dreams is to go to a WrestleMania in my lifetime. It's the only events I've been to are SmackDowns. The one I was just talking to y'all recently that came to the Moody Center in Austin back in December of last year. And a SmackDown that, my mom took me and my cousin to when we were kids back in 2007 when I lived back home in Maryland. Both of them were great events, but that's all I have to say on that front. Stuff coming up on the channel. Schedule release for the NFL. We will be doing an episode on that because, I can give my thought, my breakdowns, my frustrations with the Ravens potentially playing the Cowboys in Brazil, which, yes, you most likely heard that here first if you haven't seen it online already, because I would be able to go to that game if they played in Dallas or Arlington, sorry. But I would be able to go to that game and it would be dope because I haven't seen Jerry World. I want to experience Jerry World. I want to see it. Obviously, as y'all know, I'm a Ravens fan. So NBA playoff, once, season ends, we will be doing an episode on that. I do also want to remind y'all that we are doing our second channel giveaway once we hit 500 subs. That will be the winners choosing of the mini helmet of either their favorite collegiate or favorite NFL team. And once we hit 500 subs on here, I'll do it the same way I did the first giveaway. I'll put the rules on the Twitter page. I'll put the rules on the community page in here. That said, this has been episode 78. Much love. Appreciate the support. Thank y'all for being here with me. Thank y'all for continuing to see the passion, the effort, motivated me to continue doing this, the grind, because I want to know, or I do know, that if I keep putting my head forward and keep doing this and keep producing content, it will pay off in the long run. This is something I've wanted to do for the past 5 years, and I have slacked a little bit. I'm not going to shy away from that. I need to be more consistent, though. I need to, just put it out there. Sometimes videos are going to flop, sometimes they're not. Not everything can be a masterpiece. That said, much love, appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all back here for episode 79.
Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces.